What's going on, beautiful people? It is I, your flying locomotive and faster than a speeding bullet SuperCliff, coming at you live with a brand new video. And for today's majestic and fantastic video, we are starting 2024 off with the Man of Steel himself. For I am of course talking about Superman issue number 10. But before we dive into the world of DC Universe, if you are new to the channel, then smash that like and subscribe button. That way you guys never miss out on anything that happens on this majestic channel. So what are you waiting for? Let's raise the bar and go full on Super Saiyan. Hit that subscribe button. Thus, without further ado, let's become cowboys. Oh snap! Sorry, too soon, Dallas. And save the planet with Superman issue number 10. Alrighty folks, so our story begins in the present day at SuperCorp. And here we have Lois Lane, Mercy Graves, and of course the Luthors, all working hard as they can so that they can find Superman and Marilyn Moonlight. But before any progress can be made, the SuperCorp tower alarms start to go off. Once Mercy checks in on the monitors, she tells us that wherever Superman is, they need him to stay away. And alas, we end up switching time settings, folks, for we travel back to the 19th century, for we enter the Wild West era. Now here we have both Superman and Marilyn Moonlight teaming up, and apparently for the last 4 days, the two heroes have been doing their best to try and uphold law and order. However, sometimes the forces of evil can have their victories, for we see the two heroes investigating a wagon train that was clearly slaughtered by laser weaponry, tech that clearly doesn't belong in this time era. Superman tells Marilyn that if they want to travel to the future in order to return home, then ideally they have to track down the villain who killed these people. But first things first, we have to pay our respects for the dead. And from there, the two start digging up graves whilst the sun begins to majestically set in the background. Now remember, ever since Superman was inflicted with kryptonite poisoning due to his battle against the Chain, Sup still doesn't have his abilities at full power. Though on the flip side of that, given both characters are currently operating in the past, Marilyn is now allowed to exist during the daylight, which is pretty cool since it's obvious that this was the time period Marilyn wasn't a ghost or had yet to possess ghost-like powers. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. From there, we pick up in a saloon where one of Superman's ancient villains from Earth 1 days is hanging out, Terrorman. Now check it. Terrorman is a centuries-old cowboy who was abducted by aliens. Basically, he's a stupid, forgettable villain. Now, Terrorman has obtained technology to travel through time and has returned to his home era in the 19th century. And now he's been using his advanced technology to terrorize Metropolis. Now, after blasting a dude away after a game of cards, remember that old-looking woman at the end of the previous issue? The one with the two boys? Well, it turns out she's actually the mother of Grafton Farm, and that these two little boys are both Grafton Farm. Bonkers, I know. From there, evil mommy is shown to be ticked off, because Superman at the end of the last issue stole her tech. Grafton Farm's mother then hires Terrorman to capture Superman. However, Superman walks into the saloon, and Terrorman immediately recognizes that it's Superman, and given that he's not in his main superhero costume, he reckons that he isn't at full power, and that he's just trying to blend in. And thus, Terrorman challenges Superman to a shootout. Now, once the challenge starts, Terrorman guns Superman down. However, Superman is revealed to be unhurt, and as he rises into the air like a badass mofo, he's basically revealing that he is stronger than he had let on. Terrorman tries to flee, but he is then foiled by Marilyn Moonlight, much to the amazement of a black saloon maid who is watching everything unfold in front of her. And holy crap, this is done so much better than Wonder Woman 1984. Yeah, I still can't explain what happened to that movie. Eventually, Superman, after defeating the Terrorman, the pair take his time machine, leaving him in prison in the 19th century, and they ride out of town, while Marilyn tips her hat to the young waitress. And yes, you guessed it, this girl is Marilyn's past self, to which we get an origin story for Marilyn Moonlight, as she reveals that she was inspired back in the day by the events of this issue, and so she became a non-powered vigilante known as the Spirit of Metropolis. And after many adventures, she retired and died peacefully while surrounded by her loved ones, which is probably the best way to clock out if you were to ask me. But I digress. Now what's strange is that, following her passing, she was then brought back to life through science, and so she returned as a science-based ghost in the 21st century. From there, the two travel back to the present, and because of her ghostly limitations, Marilyn fades away, at least until nighttime. Once she disappears, Superman promises that they will find out who brought her back from the dead so that they can return her back to peace. Afterwards, Superman flies up into space to fully recharge his powers via the sun. He then goes off to look for Lois. When he doesn't find her at the Daily Planet, he flies over to SuperCorp. However, he finds it deserted. Suddenly, a frantic LexLuthor is shown running around the corridor, and she tells Superman that he needs to run. But before Supes can make any sense of what's happening, a kryptonite gas bomb lands right in front of him and goes off. And by weakening Superman, our hero is quickly attacked by the LexLuthor Revenge Squad, which includes Graft, Farm, the Chain, and a mysterious individual whom is shown to be wearing Lex Luthor's war suit. And that, folks, was the end of Superman issue number 10. And thank you guys for checking out my video, as it truly means the world to me. JoshuaWilliamson smacks it out of the park yet again with another great issue. Now, do you know what's funny about this run so far? It's the fact that we've been introduced to a lot of new characters. And I'm pretty sure the last time something like this happened was way back during the 90s following the death of Superman. Back then, we were introduced to 4 new Superman characters. Now, granted, in my opinion at least, these characters grew within the fandom as the years went on. And no, I'm not saying these new characters in Joshua Williamson's run are equivalent to those classic characters. But since then, this is probably the most recent instance where we get a bunch of whole new Superman characters that are not just one-off appearances. And more importantly, it's safe to say that a lot of them are also pretty interesting. When it comes to Marilyn Moonlight, it's not that I didn't give a shit prior, but up till this issue, and the last, she hadn't really done much. But now, having seen her backstory, and the way she inspired her past self to become a hero, was pretty badass. It also gave a ton of context to her character, which I also dug. And I like how she isn't after revenge or some bitter Mary Sue-esque character. She just simply wants to be put back to rest. And when it comes to the villains, personally, I think the Chain aesthetically is creepy looking. I don't know why, but guys with red hair who've been locked away in prison give me the creeps. When it comes to Graff and Farm, I wouldn't say they're not interesting, but we really don't know, who they are as people. We've only seen them do villainous things. We don't really know why they hate Lex Luthor. They may have a good reason, but given how Josh so far has gotten myself to enjoy characters like Marilyn Moonlight and the Chain, I can't wait to find out more about Graff and Farm. Overall, the series is amazing. Josh clearly loves and understands Superman. He understands what this hero represents and how he would act on any given Tuesday. Plus, with Williamson being a DC fanatic, him plucking out obscure characters like Terra Man and using them in a story where it really fits in is really fun. And it's just cool that seeing comic book writers of today are not forgetting the past, whether if they're obscure or not. Basically, we are in a golden era for Superman, and I cannot be any happier. So yeah, as always, I'm your majestic Sayo for its SuperCliff, and if you guys are new to the channel, then do me a solid by smashing that like and subscribe button, and also the notification bell so you'll never miss out on an upload, and so you'll always be kept up to date with your favorite top tier comics, comic news, and all that fun stuff in its majestic comic book world. Now tell me, what are your thoughts and opinions on this issue? Are you guys excited for issue number 11? Let me know down in the comment section below. And until the next video, peace. Giggity goo.